the basic outcome of the fall is that the unity became a unity no more, and it became multiple parts. And especially it became a duality here. And as long as you are living in a duality, you are not in contact with yourself. So your efforts to want to lead a better life, to want to seek spiritual development, to have answers, to be satisfied, to know who you are and why you are here. In order for you to do this and accomplish this, you need to traverse this separation. You need to get rid of the ego. This is a very fascinating journey to take, and it doesn't need to be as painful as it's often experienced. I know most people, they think that this world is normal, this is all I've ever known, and spiritual development is just about me becoming a bit happier in this very dysfunctional place. But no, actually your spiritual development transforms this place, this so-called reality. How can you know that this place is fake? Let me give you some logical reasons to why it is so. First of all, the duality created a division like being conscious and being subconscious. You have a conscious and you have a subconscious. And in between those divisions is the ego who tries to keep them apart. And the basic methods of ego is to keep you ignorant, is to keep you passive, keep you confused and in conflict. So you have plenty of reasons not to let these two dualities merge. So you have a conscious and a subconscious. But during the spiritual process, this division falls apart and you are just one conscious. And I guess this is logical for you to understand that when you are enlightened, when you use all of your mind, when you are transparent unto yourself, you also have all knowledge about everything. And there's no need for you to carry a subconscious. You are just conscious. The same division goes for being awake and being asleep. We have day and night here, and during the day you are up, and during the night you sleep. Or some people, they live reversed. Who cares? You're going to have one moment in the day where you are awake, and one moment in the day when you are asleep. But if you think about it, this holds very much the same parallel as being conscious and having a subconscious or unconscious. When you go to sleep, you don't remember anything, and then you wake up anew, fresh, every morning. But if you are completely conscious, completely transparent, there would be no need for you to go unconscious every night. Do you see what I mean? Because during the night, you're using other parts of your conscious that you can't reach in your daily day, so to speak, when you are up and running and conscious. But if you were completely conscious, there would be no need for day and night, for being awake and being asleep. The same duality, life and death. And here it becomes sensitive. What do you mean? What I'm trying to explain is that when you wake up, one of these duality pieces disappears. It's not a conscious and an unconscious or conscious or subconscious. It's just one conscious. It's not being awake and being asleep. It's just being awake. It's not life and death. It's just life. Your concept of death sounds exactly to me as the concept of being awake and going to sleep. Because when you are awake, you wake up in the morning with a lot of energy. When you come to this place as a child, you have a lot of energy. But the older you get, the more energy you lose. And then eventually you become very old and you have less and less energy and you die. And when you are awake during a normal day, you have a lot of energy perhaps in the morning, and then it gradually falls, and then in the evening you fall asleep. So I'm trying to explain that this duality is not normal. When I came here, I was surely confused about it. I tried to say, look guys, you haven't noticed that your concept of being alive and being dead and being awake and being asleep is kind of the same? Because obviously I did not have any concept of dying. I have no such concept. Of course, I remember being on places and losing my body, but it's not like, oh my God, I am dead. Because I remember so many lives in other places. So I don't consider this as the end of it. I consider this as one place, one mission, one thing I'm doing here. But I would be foolish if I identify with the body and think that I go down with this ship. Because that's not the experience. And if anything, guys, if anything, it's difficult to being born to a place like this. That's the tough part, not to die. So if you want to know what you should be fearing, it's being born. But this you've already managed because you're here listening to this. So glad to tell you the most crazy part is actually over. The rest is very super easy. Because would you rather go from a beautiful place to an anxiety-ridden place, or go from an anxiety-ridden place to complete freedom? I think the latter. So believe me, dying from here is easy. But it's only difficult, anything is difficult, when we make up in our head that we will be separated forever. It creates fear, it creates pain. So it's up to us to start to try to understand things, to frame them in another way. And that's what I'm trying to help you guys doing. You don't need to live in fear. But it's understandably easy to go completely ballistic, fearful down here, and to end up in a lot of troubles. So that duality will also disappear. Another duality that will disappear is the duality between an inside and an outside. Like we have a concept of an inner world. This is me, this is how I function, and I can choose whatever I'm sharing with the outside. And this is also a division. Like it's very difficult to understand the concept that everyone is you. And the ego makes sure to keep them as strangers, to have conflicts with them, or just make you feel uneasy with the very idea of approaching another person. A good example is, I'm sure you're carrying a lot of judgment about other people and things, and yeah, I'm just making a very wild guess that this might be the case. And have you ever noticed when you then have to confront one of these things that you have a judgment about, how embarrassing it sometimes feels, because you realize that this thing is actually not that bad. This, I was going to say sport is not so bad, this kind of person is not so bad, whatever it is. You still like have to insist of keeping this distance within you. It's not like a judgment. It's not like you really don't like anything. It's not like that. The point that you're trying to make here is that you want to keep a distance. And the most easiest way to keep a distance is to have an issue with it. Because if you don't like anything, you're for surely going to keep them away. Or if you're afraid of something, you're going to keep them away. So you make up shit. You make up things about other people, about stuff. And you pretend that you have something against them. But it's actually not true. So when you are in a situation where you have to approach something and you realize this, it's like embarrassing, because you realize that you really understand this already, and you are confused about, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I lying to myself? Because you like to keep the distance, because that's the job of the ego. So in this very interesting exercise, or when you're trying to avoid strangers and you end up sitting next to a stranger on a bus and you happen to start talking to the stranger, and you become so happy when you do it, and you wouldn't take that day away. You're appreciating this conversation. But why did you resist it so much? So we resist the foreign, the strange, the unknown. It fills us with pain. But the actual pain we're really experiencing is the very distance. As soon as that distance is traversed, it feels nice. It feels wonderful. So during this whole process, you will be erasing this ego. And the only way for you to do that is to do it consciously. Surely you have heard this before, but ego can't create. And ego can't destroy either. Fun enough, because it can't create, it can't destroy. Make sense to you? If you don't have the power to create, how can you have the power to destroy? So all of you exist around you all the time. So you're actually very fine. Thanks for asking. The only thing the ego can do is to estrange you towards yourself, like it has already done now. It keeps you apart. It makes you unaware that you are everyone. So during a normal day, you're going to find yourself, if you contemplate on the day that you had so far, what the hell have I done during the day? You're going to find that you have been on autopilot. You're going to find that you've been basically kind of unconscious during the day, just been doing things. And many times you have felt like I have shoulds and have tos. I have to get through during the day. I have to do this, or why do I have to do that? But I have to do this and this and this. All of these things are lies. You are lying to yourself. Because the core of spiritual development, how we actually measure someone's spiritual development. Yes, it's possible to measure spiritual development, even if you are, I was going to say, not so smart. It's a very easy tool, like everyone can use it. There you go. You use the tool by measuring how responsible the person is for their own actions. And this is actually very easy to observe. So by this very easy method, you can watch yourself and other people to see kind of where they are on the ladder, so to speak. It's not a competition. It's more like an interesting observation. And if you want to help out, if you want to speed up your own process and be more self-aware, please use it. So why is this? Why is spiritual development the degree of how much responsibility I'm taking? Well, because you are a creator. You can do whatever you want. And trust me, you probably already had lives where you became like the most evil tyrant in the universe. And you sat there on your throne and you realized, the only thing that I fear in the all of universe is myself, because I'm the most dangerous person here. And then it kind of clicks. Yeah, it sounds about right. The only one I fear is myself. So what you choose to do, and for what reason you choose to do whatever you're choosing to do, is all onto you. And it's all up to you. It's all on you. And we don't necessarily want to face that truth. So while humans say they want freedom, what they really is saying is, how can I avoid this? How can I avoid this freedom? How can I avoid this responsibility? The only way I can avoid it is to deny what I am. Because otherwise, I will realize that I am absolutely 100% responsible for everything. So people, they say one thing, but they mean another thing. They don't mean what they say. So it's actually very interesting to watch the so-called spiritual development of people. Because as I said with this duality world, the outside is also your creation. Everything is you. So when you start to wake up, you start to question what is happening on the outside, because it doesn't seem right. It seems a bit like corrupt or wrong or off, and you don't know why you get this sense. Maybe you can start to pinpoint it with certain details. For sure, the outside is not even trying very hard that it's corrupt now. It's very open, I think. But it's just a sense. And the sense you're really sensing is that I know it's not true because I made it up. I made it up so that it would suppress me. I made it up so that I could say that the reason why I'm not taking responsibility is because I'm trapped, because I am unfree. They are making me unfree. But this starts to ring untrue in your ears. For sure, in the beginning, you're going to feel that they are very bad oppressors and you're going to start a war up onto them. And then you're going to be more and more disillusioned about it all. Alternative news is maybe going to start being disillusioned there as well. You're never going to find an answer if you're looking for a bad guy. Shh, that's a secret. You're never going to find an answer. You know this deep inside. You're going to end up like the crazy person in a basement trying to find a perfect trail and path. Who is the real bad guy? Who is the reason for this? And you're going to point to everyone before you point to yourself. And I know it's a cliche that it all comes from us. But I could basically break this down in every logical details why that is the only possibility that is actually splurging force from yourself. It's not an outside bad guy. And one of my favorite logical methods to do this is that in order for anyone to be this bad and evil, they still have to have some form of a body. And then you're going to say, yeah, so what? Some form of a brain. Yeah, so what? Well, in case you haven't noticed, your body and brain is made from natural law, not outside chaotic law. It is perfect harmony and balance and love. And if you try to take these bad people's rules and threat your body with them, your body gonna go sick and die. It's the living proof that that is a false law. If you start to get sick, I don't care whatever methods you have or how you're conducting your life. You have to stop with it. You have to be kind. You have to de-stress. You have to live in balance. You have to eat proper. Have to exercise proper. You have to be a kind soul, basically, in order for your body to heal. So can you imagine these so-called really evil guys, bad guys, monsters, that they still have to be nice towards their bodies and brains, or they can't do what they're doing? If life had an issue with this, if it was threatened, because many people, they perceive that these evil people, they can kill life. If life felt like, oh my God, you have the power to kill me? Let me think for a moment. And then they just unhook something in their brains or whatever, because it's life. And wow, oh, sorry, it seems like you can't use your body or brain anymore. That's bad. I'm making this into a joke, but I have to keep it straight. How could any evil out there threat life when it needs life in order to even to think? So put that in perspective and side with the side of reality. And therefore you can actually relax and be happy because you are not in any real danger. Thank you so very much. And as I said, you don't die. You never die. You can't die. You can just do very much different things and experience a lot of things. Even when you are here, you can dive into a movie or read a book and you can be completely absorbed into it. You decide. You can cry when you read a book about someone else's story. But let's get back to the story. You have to start to defeat this ego in order for you to wake up, because unless you are prepared to do that, you're just going to be sidetracked. And, oh, now I remember. I was explaining to you the different steps of waking up, wasn't I? I say you become more and more disillusioned when you watch the outside, but you're still trying to find a bad guy because you don't want to know that you are free. Or you try to take the spiritual path on the outside, and you might gonna try different spiritual paths, and you're gonna find that they didn't really do it for you. You are not free. It feels like you come to dead end. Maybe you come disillusioned there as well. And then you think really, okay, what is this? What is this? The more you're gonna start doubting the outside, that's a sign of sanity. Because it means you're probably going to go deeper and deeper inside of yourself and ask yourself, what is my truth? And this is the beginning of you to start to take real responsibility for everything that happens comes from you. If you don't take responsibility for your problems and you go to an external source to solve your problems, they're not going to be solved. Because they can't make you become responsible for yourself. Unless you're going to safety are like me and I say, these are the tools that you can use. You have to sing. I can just point the way to what you need to do. But I will never say, this is the only path, and if you only follow these exact steps, then you will be enlightened. It's not like that. It's not an answer you're going to find in a book or a person that you can follow. I guess the best leaders out there are these people who make you believe in yourself. So you can do everything you postpone doing, even if you kind of know what is right, even if you kind of know what you should be doing. So anyway, you start to work more with yourself and you realize that whatever changes I am doing in here, it's going to have an effect on the outside. This is a very good sign. Once this process is started, it's not going to end. You're going to keep on doing it until you're out. You're going to have a moment where you might want to help other people. and you become a helper. It's easy in the spiritual, when you're spiritual, waking up, that you want to help people. And in the beginning, you might be doing this because you want to have higher status. Maybe you feel that now I am more appreciated by my fellow man. Now I am a good person. Even if you're still hiding the parts of you that you feel is not good. So you're not there quite yet. You're not there quite yet. You are only there when you do it without a reason. Like the reason is, I'm doing this now because I am free. I'm doing this now because this very action makes me feel free. Because this is the same thing to do. And the reason you feel free is because it kind of dawns on you that everyone is you, and these duality walls is starting to crumble. So it's very easy to see what people are fighting against or who they are blaming for their imprisonment. And once they start to change this narrative and start thinking and behaving differently. So therefore I say that everything around you in this place is just props. They are just symbols for you to play out your drama of understanding and eventually reach the understanding that makes you break free from this place. So, to give you some small advice now before I end today's video, that the ego that is keeping you apart from yourself is something that you have to put in the light so that you can see it and start removing it. And it's a very easy way and method to do this. You have to see, preferably all the time. In the beginning, you're not going to be doing this all the time, but preferably as often as you can. At this moment, or I am doing what I'm doing because right now I'm doing this because. If you insist of staying awake, the ego can't hide. Because the ego can't create. So most of the time during the day, you're going to find that you're on autopilot, or that you are just unaware, or that you feel that you are trapped, that you just are in I have to do, I should do, you're not free. This takes all of your energy and it keeps you down, and you can't wake up from this state of being. You can't. You have to be conscious in order to wake up. Because if you're just on autopilot, the ego is just recycling old thoughts, because it can't create and it can't destroy when it can't create. It's just reusing old thoughts. Anything so that you are not awake. And when you try to push to be awake, it might say, you don't have time. You have to go do this and this. Or you are helpless, so don't bother. You are weak, so don't bother. You are way too stressed now, so don't bother. It will try to push you down from being awake. And when you do a statement like, right now I'm doing this because, the ego can't resist it, can't do anything about it. And you take your power back. So instead of you come home from work and you have to do food, prepare a meal for your kids, and you may only think about how tired you are, and I have to do this, and you're not happy. It takes all of your energy. And it's not true. If I give you 100% freedom, look, you can go and do something completely else. You can go now to a party. Just leave the kitchen. Then you will protest. So you're going to say, it's not what I want to do. Well, what do you want to do then? I want to feed my kids. Why? Because I love my kids. So you are telling me that first you were basically cursing that you had to stand there and prepare a meal for your kids, and it was just hard work. And now you're telling me that of all the different things I can do at this moment, this is what I would prefer to do the most. That is empowering. That gives you all your energy and power back to you. And if you do this in every instant, you're going to take yourself back. You're going to be awake. You're going to wake up more and more. And in theory, it's not difficult. Because in this process, you're going to notice all the shit that is coming from the ego. You're going to find situations where you believe that you have to do something. And then you use this phrase, right now I'm doing this because. And then you may realize that you don't have to do that thing that you thought you had to do. You don't have to attend that social party or whatever. You did it because you felt pressured by these and these people, or you felt pressured by your parents or some other reason. And then you have a choice. Do I choose to be obeying this pair of people? Do I think that's the most wisest decision from where I stand, or is that wrong? And then I have to say another statement, and I have to stand by it. I have to be true to myself. You're also going to notice that, as I said, the ego has a lot of bad things going, negative thoughts. But if you are strict there and you're actually going to be aware of your thoughts, right now I'm choosing to think this thought about that thing, you're going to notice how ridiculous it is. No, I do not stand by this thought. I refuse to take responsibility for this thought. Then let it be, unless you are willing to climb up to a rooftop and make this thought a statement for everyone to hear. And if you say, hell no, then it's not a thought that you're actually standing by, so why do you keep it? If you're not prepared to say to everyone, it's not a true thought. You know what I mean? So you can start to weed out everything that is not actually transparent and true and honest to you. And eventually that's gonna basically disempower the ego. The ego is not gonna have any more space inside of you. And you're gonna start wake up. So the path to waking up is not a difficult one. Your only obstacle is you're gonna feel lazy, you're gonna feel resistant, you're gonna find it to be maybe embarrassing, difficult, any of these things. And remember, they are tactics of the ego. You don't have to stay in those feelings. Instead, you can stay in the statements of what you stand for. Of what you stand for. Have this talk with yourself. Is it okay for you to always be standing under someone else's shadow, always listening to what they have to say, to feel lesser than other people? Is that a true statement? Is that a statement that you would give to your friend? If you could only say one thing to your friend, would you say something empowering or disempowering? And what would your reason be to say something disempowering? Sometimes we say disempowering things because we feel that we are protecting them from further hurt. Don't even try to go for hope. You will only get hurt. But that is a ridiculous thing to say. And whenever we say that something can hurt us, we are also lying. No one can place your feelings and emotions within you. No one can place thoughts inside of you. You have to accept them and pronounce them yourself. No one else can do that for you. But when we don't take responsibility, we say that someone else made me feel this feeling. Someone else made me think this thought. And then we're not there yet. And when we can't take responsibility, neither can we wake up. I know this is like a catch-22 moment. How can I then, if I can't wake up until I take responsibility, but the path of waking up is about starting to take responsibility. Yes, they go hand in hand. And the path to waking up is a bit like this. I will not lie about that. It's like you reach the top of a hill and you realize it's a higher hill. It constantly goes like this. But if I perceive that someone has hurt me, I usually reframe it like this. I don't think or I will not let someone else's defense mechanism affect me. And why do I say defense mechanism? Because I genuinely don't think that a good and healthy, happy person would do evil things. I don't think a good and healthy person would attack someone or be mean. I think that all these kind of actions come from someone who is deeply hurt. And they are doing this in order to feel better themselves. But their comforting tool or defense mechanisms are not going to affect me. I will even go as far as to say that the only way that someone can affect you, in a bad way, so to speak, is if you think that you're actually gaining by their actions. And to make an example of this, what I mean by this, if you, for example, are in a workplace and someone is behaving bad towards you, maybe they steal one of your projects or they do something that makes them advance on your behalf, and you become so angry and frustrated. You can only feel angry and frustrated if you actually think that they won over you. Almost like if you were saying, oh, why didn't I not come up with that? Then you become just like them. If you are hurt by what they did, it's like you basically said that I wished I could have come up with that before you did that towards me. Then you are still so attached to this system that you are prepared to do evil things just to get an advantage. And that is also one of the reasons why we are kept here. We are still addicted to what the so-called ego provides us with here. And we are unwilling to let go of it all. I will be talking more about this resistance. I think it's also a very important topic to bring up. Because you're going to know that you have this duality of sincerity within you. Like a part of you for sure says it wants and seeks the spiritual path. Another part of you is secretly worshipping this place. And therefore you will lie to yourself and you will lie to other people. Because you're not prepared to show all your thoughts that you are really thinking. But don't do this for anyone else. Do this for you. Refuse to keep this duality within you. Refuse to keep this internal conflict within you. You don't have to lie, to pretend, to put on a face in order for other people to think that you're good. It doesn't matter what other people think. It matters how you feel. If I want you to feel well with yourself, if I want you to feel safe with yourself, then I want you to do this. I want you to look at these ugly thoughts and ideas that still coexist within you, that you think is keeping you alive, but that is actually poisoning you, hurting you. It's like an abusive relationship. You're going to be so attached to the abuser that you don't realize that it's slowly killing you. It's like an addiction. So waking up is understanding that you truly want to be healthy, that you truly want to wake up, that your heart is growing both for yourself and for other people, because sometimes it's very easy for us to hurt ourselves. But we wouldn't want to hurt other people. And if you don't want to say the things that you're telling yourself to other people, then don't use them on yourself either. You can do this. More on the spiritual development in the next video. And please leave your comments if you haven't already done so. What do you think about the spiritual awakening process? What do you think about the ego? What's your own experiences? Have you ever felt sidetracked when you tried your own personal development? What happened? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Bye for now.